Are you an overwhelmed SaaS founder ready to make the leap from leading a team to leading an organization? Join us each week as we refill your think tank with actionable tips and strategies from great business minds you know and those you don't know yet. This is SaaS Fuel with your host, 5-time entrepreneur, SaaS founder, and globetrotting adventurer, Jeff Maines.
Welcome back to the SaaS Fuel podcast, where compliance is no longer just forms and friction. It's AI agents working behind the scenes like bouncers in a nightclub, deciding who gets in and who's definitely here for trouble. I'm your host, Jeff Maines. I hope B2B SaaS founders like you grow from traction to scale. Here, growth is more than just numbers. It's about crafting a future-proof company, premium valuation, and leaders who build a business of significance while living epic, adventurous lives. How much of your team's day is spent doing real risk prevention versus chasing false alarms that just look risky on paper? In financial services, compliance isn't just important, it's existential. You don't do it, you don't stay in business. But the way most teams handle things like anti money laundering and know your customer still feel like it was designed for a world with unlimited headcount and zero urgency. Today, we're going to explore how AI agents are changing the compliance game, not by replacing humans, but by doing what humans were never meant to do at scale, sifting through massive amounts of data, spotting patterns super fast, and reducing the endless noise of false positives. You'll hear how intelligent Copilot workflows can help analysts move from manual digging to confident decision making, with AI summarizing the case, surfacing evidence, and explaining its reasoning before a human signs off. We also dig into the real adoption challenge: trust. Because in a regulated environment, accuracy isn't a nice to have, it's the whole point. The conversation breaks down in how teams can roll AI out in phases, integrate it without blowing up existing workflows, and gradually automate more without ever losing oversight. If your compliance function is overwhelmed, and whose isn't, your costs are climbing, or your team is stuck in review loops that never end, this episode offers a practical look at how AI can make compliance faster, safer, and dramatically more reliable. Let's get into it. Our expert guest last Thursday was Marlena Saranak, co-founder of the company Advice. She joined us to unpack what it really takes to build a brand that lands, sticks, and sells, especially in complex, regulated markets. She shared why great products don't sell themselves, how to translate technical complexity into clarity, and how founders can use a playbook-driven approach to sharpen positioning, build trust early, and generate traction without wasting cycles on noise. And our founder last week was KG Charles Harris, founder and CEO of Quario. He joined us to unpack why deterministic AI is a game changer for business decision making. Drawing from decades in AI and data analytics, KG explained the difference between probabilistic guesses and auditable, repeatable answers, deterministic models, and why speed, accuracy, and effectiveness matter when real money is on the line. It was a masterclass in turning data into decisions you can trust. And really, how many of you knew there was a difference between probabilistic and deterministic? Determine. And really, how many of you actually knew there was a difference between probabilistic models and deterministic AI models? Cool stuff. Well, if you missed either episode, go back and check those out. My guest today is Alex Berkovic, co-founder and CEO of Sphynx. It's a combination of design, machine learning, and high-stakes financial systems. Pretty cool stuff. Before Sphynx, Alex co-founded Adorno AI, where he worked on audio generation models for video. And his academic path spans design engineering at Imperial College and machine learning at MIT. Pretty impressive. It's a rare mix of creative systems thinking and deep technical chops. Welcome someone helping financial institutions modernize compliance with intelligence, not chaos. Alex Berkovic. Hey, Alexander, welcome to SaaS Fuel.
Thanks, Jeff.
You've
Good to
gone
be here.
from design engineering at Imperial to co-founding Sphynx. What was the big spark that led you to build something focused on AI agents, especially in the world of finance?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'd say it's not something that I thought I'd be doing. I was doing design engineering knowing that I would build something. I've always had it that I would start a company. And after that, went on to do at Imperial, from Imperial to MIT. And so I knew I wanted to focus something in AI. After that, I started my first company, which was building AI audio generation models for video. As different as it sounds to what we're doing today, realized wasn't necessarily the way to build a billion or multi-billion-dollar company. So managed to get that acquired. And after that, basically, my co-founder and I were thinking about he had been in compliance for 5 years. I mean, didn't see any innovation for years. And we thought it was advent of AI agents is the fifth fastest growing job in the. We knew that there was a big opportunity, and that's where everything started.
I love that. So tell me a little bit more about Sphinx. What problem does it solve? Who are you targeting? How are you thinking about your go-to-market motion?
What we've realized is that today financial institutions use really big human teams in order to solve compliance, whether that's AML, KYC, KYB. I don't know how familiar you're with those terms, but AML is anti-money laundering, KYC, KYB is no customer, your business. In a nutshell, anytime, let's say, Jeff, you're trying to onboard, I don't know, Citibank, and you're sending all your information through, and for some reason, there's another Jeff with the same name as you somewhere else that was money launderer. So your name is gonna basically create an alert, and even though you're not the bad guy, some compliance analyst is still gonna have to go over that case, understand why the alert was generated, go over
Right.
the company's SOPs, procedures, policies, how they have to resolve the case, whether they need to send you an email for more information. Anyways, it's super manual. And that's really what is doing. We're building the layer on top of existing systems to alleviate compliance teams of that manual burden.
I'm sure that they would love to hear that. As it is a manual process and it's not something they can just go, well, it's probably not money laundering guy, so we'll let it go.
Yeah.
They've got to actually act on every single one of those and check it out. And a lot of them are false positives. Not all of
I
them.
mean, we've been able to reduce false positives rates with some of the companies we work with by 94, 96%. So it
Wow.
is literally for most of the time, it's approve, 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 approve because of how many false positives there are.
Wow. Wow. Definitely something that can be automated for sure. How did your experience at AI shape your approach to the new venture?
So I think it shaped it, understanding that we have to build something that people want a lot. So I'd say Adorno was a little bit of a passion project. It was great. My whole family has been in art, basically, my whole life. So I loved music, audio, video. Those were the things I were passionate about. And I believe that sometimes working on something you're truly passionate about, people say it's great. I think it can blind your judgment and
Sure.
that you might make decisions that aren't actually good decisions because you're blinded by the passion you have for something. That in mind, the approach we've had with Sphinx is everything we do is informed by customer needs. There's nothing we do that's just, I feel that is the way to do it, or I feel the customer will want this. So we've really based the entire product on how the interactions with our customers shape the needs of the product. And I think that's really enabled us to build something that people actually want. And that's actually useful for big set of fintechs, banks, payments processors, crypto companies, and whatnot.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah, it is definitely something that they need. And so I can see why it resonates. It's something that
Yeah.
somebody wants, something they need. Built the AI agent operates, as I understand, in Copilot mode. Pretty cool. How does that
Yep.
work in real world workflows? And then how does Copilot build trust with customers that may be a little bit skeptical about this whole AI thing?
You can really see as being your analyst. So we plug into the existing systems of our customers. We don't need any engineering work. And we'll really access the systems they use just like they would. Anytime they will try to review a case, before they even review it, we already have the case notes, the suggestion of the decision to be made directly in their systems. That's the really important part. We have companies we work with that are extremely regulated. And they can't have an AI agent automate the onboarding of thousands of their customers. But what they can have is an AI agent giving them a summary of all the different sources that we orchestrated, the reasoning that we had into making a decision, and them being the final point into making that decision. And I think that allows us to actually work with regulated companies, but like allowing them to be much faster and yet make regulators happy.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Very cool. Is there a fully autonomous mode that can shift to once they
Of
build that
course.
trust, or is it always okay?
Yeah.
So then
So it generally takes
it
and we could go much
that
faster into the fully automated part of it. And it depends on the uh, regulation level of that company we work with. But we have companies that actually automate 85, 90, 94% of their compliance operations with us. It might be for a certain subset of tasks, but it's all a question of trust. We operate directly into a fully autonomous mode? Maybe not. But could we operate into a fully autonomous mode after a few weeks of fine-tuning and working with our customers? Yeah.
I like that. What kind of reliability does it take, or what kind of work does it take, just from an engineering perspective, to hit that kind of number where you're in a compliance-heavy industry,
Yeah.
heavily regulated, you've got very specific workflows. How do you build something that can do that and do it reliably all the time, where AI is sometimes not as predictable as you'd want it
Yeah.
to be?
We have a heavy set of evals in-house. And I think it's actually very funny because sometimes some customers we talk to are, hey, I've used Gemini or ChatGPT to put in their documents and it gave some really good outputs. And I'm like, you're right, it might give you 80% of the time pretty good
Right.
outputs. In compliance, you can't have 20% where you're, I'm not sure. You can't even have 1% where you're not sure. If you onboard a sanctioned individual into your fintech or your bank,
Right.
regulators are going to come in and hit you with $1 million fine. I think the heavy set of evals that we have internally, and then we have obviously other processes that we can't dive too much into, that is the whole IP we have, has allowed us to actually go from this 80% that any branded model would give you, and generously give you, to 99% confidence rate.
That's really good. It is interesting. People use AI for all sorts of things and it does get it right about 90% of the time.
Yeah,
But in this industry, this use case, 90% is not good enough. It's got to be
no,
really close to 100.
yeah. And I'd say something. We have the guardrails in house, so we've never made a wrong decision.
Right.
Time we're unsure about something, it will always be escalated to their human team. And I think that's a really important factor to account for because you can't make a mistake in compliance. It is way too mission critical
Yeah.
for any error to happen.
Oh, that's smart. And escalation, having that point is always helpful because we do need that. But if you can take 99% of that off of somebody's plate and let them work on things that are more interesting, higher value, I think that would be welcome for just about anybody in that kind of a role.
Yeah.
What does the onboarding journey look like? I mean, when you go from beginning and Copilot and then
Yeah.
to full adoption and rollout, the friction for the implementation, has that been something that's a challenge, or the adoption happened pretty fast?
No, I think the good thing about this is that there's no friction in the integration steps of the
Mm,
process because we work really just like a human. So we don't need an engineering team to integrate our product. Like we don't need you to integrate our API or whatnot. So we'll work on top of existing
gotcha.
systems just like an employee. The way the onboarding works is, well, we need to understand exactly every company has different procedures, policies, ways of doing compliance. And so we have to understand that for each and every company. And by ingesting their policies, SOPs, procedures, all of these very organization specific documents, we're able to start fine tuning the agent to the way they would interact with customers. And then we have a period in which we have some basically reinforcement learning, and our agent continuously learns from
Okay.
what the analysts are gonna say we did right or wrong, from what the customers have, from new policies, from new procedures. So we are constantly improving the agent to be more and more and more and more and more tailored to company. And once we reach this level at which we believe, okay, our evals are happy, our agent is fine enough, then we can start automating low risk cases and increase the level of automation as we work with them.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, a staged approach where you're able to get value immediately and then
Yeah,
really
that's it.
fine tune over time.
Yeah, exactly.
You scaled some early technical prototyping into enterprise SaaS. I mean, a giant leap. What's been the biggest mindset shift along that path for you as a founder?
It's interesting you say enterprise SaaS. And what we do, I define SaaS actually differently from software as a service. I believe that we are more service as a software.
Oh,
It's been
that
actually,
fits.
it fits. And it's been
Yeah.
actually something that when you sell software to a company, it goes into their software budget. When you sell service to a company, it goes into their hiring or ops budgets.
Ah,
And so
nice.
I think there's a need to change the mindset of, hey, we're an AI compliance analyst, but not a software. I'm a compliance analyst that works 24/7 and doesn't make any mistakes. And so there needs to be that mindset shift in those companies to be able to adopt a better way of thinking that allows them to be, okay, that makes sense. We're willing to try this out, pay more, and actually this has allowed us to go into enterprise. And I think just overall to go into enterprise, you have to have an extremely high standard of where the product is at, what support we have, how fast we can go to production, the quality of the product. We cannot make any mistakes, as I said multiple times.
Right. How have you dealt with different international regulations? Things are different here in the States versus in Europe versus other places. There's different compliance regulations. How have you approached that, or is that something that's come up yet?
We built infrastructure allowed us to scale into multiple countries from day one. So
Okay.
today we operate in as nearly as many countries as we have customers in. So we're region agnostic, which has allowed us to operate in US, Canada, a lot of countries in LATAM, Europe, APAC, MENA. Um, and I think it's been extremely important to our growth.
Yeah, that's really, really big. Did you find it challenging working in different countries, different regulations, or is it just all kind of the same thing and you adjust the policies and, do what it says?
No, it is. There's definitely some challenges. I'd say like we've been able to make it much simpler because of like how we built our infra and how it's enabled it to be basically a set of rules and policies and like laws that we have to input to our model. But we still have to do QA, we still have to review what the models say, and so we can't do that yet in every country. Like I can't go today in um, an Arab-speaking country or in China where I can't QA my own models.
Ah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
That would be a little more difficult.
it would. Yeah,
Well, as you've scaled up, I mean, one of the things you're doing is you're replacing or, working alongside and you have a virtual, compliance analyst and building your own team. Is your team virtual? Is it a combination of AI agents and people? How have you scaled your own team inside?
yeah. We only have AI agents. We no, our team is in San Francisco. We have people in person here. We're hiring at the moment as well. Um,
Okay,
so yeah, it's mostly an engineering focused team right now.
makes sense.
Yeah, got to build a product.
Yeah. How have you thought about product market fit? It sounds like that happened pretty quick. Is that just my perception? I don't want to say overnight success, but adoption pretty quick. They're like, "This is amazing. We have to have it." Or did it take a little while to kind of figure out, who our market is going to be and how you're going to position your product?
I mean, for some reason, I never think I've reached PMF, and I would never think I'll reach it. Like I always feel like it's like touching it by the tips of your finger, and then
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
more to be done. And I think the main thing is like, as I said, like when you ask a question about Adorno, like what we've done really like methodically at Sphinx is building the product based on what our customers say, want, and need. And so we've had very early adoption and we're growing very fast. Does it equate to PMF. I don't know. But we're continuing to look for it, and maybe it's an endless, run of like, hey, we'll grow, we'll grow, we'll grow, and we never feel like we hit it
Yeah.
completely. And I feel like if you think you've hit it completely, and you might lose grasp of like of it as well. So maybe it's a good thing for being on that constant search to make everything always better.
I can really relate to that. I mean, it's one of those things of, have we found it? Yeah, probably. Can it be better? Yeah, probably. Can the product improve? Of course. And I think it is. It's that constant chase of how do we continue, iterating and adding more value in a market that is one changing rapidly, and then I think AI just brings other solutions, copycats, whatever, that it can get to parity pretty quickly. So you have to stay ahead and continue to innovate and continue to add more value so that nobody
Yeah,
would ever want to go anywhere else.
exactly.
Definitely relate to that. Well, how are you selling, like going to market? You mentioned kind of the contrast in last time we talked, and European founders' approach of selling versus maybe the U.S. approach to selling, just a
Yeah.
little bit different. How does that show up for you, and how have you adapted?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that like we are still very founder-led sales. I'm the only one doing sales at a company right now, and we're hiring. But the way that's worked really well for us is conferences have been great. Like I think meeting people in real life and being able to actually connect in person and understand the
Yeah.
problems is the best way to do that. I mean, I unfortunately don't have it here, but we usually have pretty good merch, and pretty memorable merch. So. I don't know. For instance, I just came out of Money 2020 yesterday, and I distributed hundreds of cigarette packs where it was written, um, "We smoke frauds and no compliance kills." And it's memorable. People love it.
Yeah.
I remember like 2 weeks after Trump got shot, I was at a conference and I had a t-shirt with written, "Trump dodged a bullet. Can your compliance?"
Oh,
And to this
wow.
day, people still remember that. So
Yeah.
I think it's important in an economy of attention in which we are today. Building product is becoming easier than ever before, which means that the pool of good competitors is becoming increasingly big as well. So, what are the different ways that you can actually um, reach people and stay top of mind, and building brand and memorable things like that? I think has been very useful for us.
Brilliant. That's great marketing. I mean, both
I
of
try my
those things
best.
very, very memorable and stand out. And you don't have to spend $300,000 at a show to do the booth and the dog and pony show when you can do that and stand out. I love that.
Yeah, $300. That's what it cost me. So it
That's
is
very. Have
cheaper.
you thought about funding? Are you bootstrapped, or have you
Uh,
raised, or how have
we're
you?
we're VC funded, and
Okay,
we'll announce our funding soon. But yeah, we're VC funded. Went through YC raise after that.
gotcha. They've got to love that when you can go and you can make a bigger splash for $300 at an event than somebody that spent 500,000. And they're
Yeah,
talking about you and your marketing. I love that.
I think people definitely love it. But I do think that like VCs like they give you money to make money. Like
Yeah,
you have to spend money to make money. And so I think there's the line at which, sure, you can't splurge and waste money. And I think that a lot of people that spend 300K on a booth are pretty bad, and do it in a poor
yes,
way. Um, some of them, it's like no one even goes and see your booth. But
right.
um, you still have to spend money. And that's why we want to accelerate and spend more money right now. But I agree. Sometimes, it's all about creativity, not about splurging.
Oh, very, very cool. How have you thought about building culture with your team? A lot of times that's something that's maybe put on the back burner a little bit during the early scramble.
Yeah.
Have you intentionally shaped your company culture as Sphinx has grown up?
Yeah. 100%. To me, culture is everything. I believe that the first set of 20 people that we hire, like the first 20 people on the team, will make or break the company. And I think that's like not something
Yeah,
crazy. Like Everyone says that. Sure. And so a lot of people will like, as you said, be in a scramble and not think about culture, and then you hire the wrong people, and backtracking is much harder. So we hire very slowly. We have fired very fast. We work in person in the office every day. We work 6 days a week. We are all aligned on what we want to build, what are the business goals, and how we want to reach those. And everyone has extremely high ownership and accountability. And I think that's been really important in shaping the way we work, build a product, work with customers. And yeah, my goal is that my co-founder and I shouldn't be the only ones setting culture. Like I'm looking for people to come and shape culture with us. And
I like that.
yeah, that's been super important for us.
Oh, that's very, very cool. And how have you thought about that in the hiring process? I mean, how do you get that buy-in from people? Is it, do they have that when they come to you? Do they get excited about it in the interview process? I mean, how do you
I'd
get that
say
and build that team?
I have a very unconventional part of the interview early on in the first call where I tell them all the reasons they shouldn't join us.
I
And I
like it.
think this scares a lot of people away, but it's good because if they're scared, then we don't want them. I tell them how hard we work, what is going to be like the goals for the next year, and how hard they're going to need to invest time into making it happen. And, you know, giving that is really makes people that want it and really appreciate it. And you clearly see the ones that are like, I don't want to work that much. I want to have holidays. I want to, like,
Yeah.
I'm not a monster. You can go on holiday whenever you want, but we work hard. And like having that moment in the interview where we're like, hey, these are the 10 reasons why you shouldn't join Sphinx has allowed us to right now have only people that set culture.
Love that. That's really smart. And I think a lot of founders, especially early stage, when you're working on those first 10, 20 hires, that you're a lot more concerned about getting anybody to say yes than controlling the culture. Here's what this is really going to look,
Yeah.
filtering and getting only the right people in.
100%. And I'd say even I don't give a shit about credentials. I've never looked at it. Like I I come out from I have good credentials. I've been to Imperial, MIT, second time founder. Doesn't mean shit, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people from MIT that would never fit in my company. And I know a lot of people from unknown universities and they would be an incredible fit. So
yeah,
I look at accomplishments and what people have done and what people want to do. If someone goes into an interview and shows me their projects, GitHub repos, that they've worked outside of their job, and they tell me, hey, my goal is to stay with you guys for 2 years and then leave to make my own company. I'm great. This is exactly what I'm looking for. I don't want to think that my company would be unsuccessful if people stay there forever because
yeah.
we want to teach them, or I want them to feel that this is the place to incubate their future entrepreneurial spirit, their future startup. And I think very good companies have had that. It's something that I really want to foster.
That's really cool. I think that's one of the things that helps build early stage companies is you have that entrepreneurial mindset and you get people in there. And
Yeah.
I always hate losing people. And I just think back of some great people that I've had on my teams over
Yeah.
the years that have left and then they've gone out and started their own companies and done absolutely fantastic. And that really excites me. I don't want to
Yeah.
lose them, but at the same time, just to see them do that and chase their dream and to have been a small part of that is
I
so
agree.
rewarding.
I feel if you don't lose people, it means you haven't hired well enough. People don't
Yeah.
go on to do their own thing and do, I don't know if it's better thing, but do their own thing afterwards. Then you've hired people with, I'm not going to say low agency, but maybe you do need a set of people that have, like the early hires are people that need to take on extreme ownership and have very high agency. Agency is probably the favorite word people have in SF today, but it really means being able to make decisions and take care of a project end to end and lead something. And so people that leave and start their own thing is great. It means that you've hired someone that was really good at what they were doing.
Yes, yes. And as the business grows too, the needs change. That early
Yeah,
entrepreneurial
100%.
spirit and the agency and ownership, that changes when you get a little bit bigger and it becomes more process, more rigid, more growth oriented instead of hyperscale. And I think that the role changes, and that's not as much fun for some of the really early stage people.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah. It always is hard to lose great people, but when they go on and do things, that's just so fun.
Yeah.
What if a leadership book and a Netflix drama had a baby? That is The Captain's Keys, Storms, Emotional Wreckage, and a surprisingly practical leadership system that one CEO called the owner's manual and never got for 20 years of leadership. Here is the brutal truth. You're probably drowning in LinkedIn connections while starving for real relationships. I hear it all the time. Most leaders are exhausted from playing the lone hero, and it's killing both your results and your sanity. The Captain's Keys reveals a new leadership framework, the stability matrix, four specific relationships that prevent burnout while multiplying your impact. And this isn't just theory. It's a system that I've used to scale companies and taught over 1,000 executive leaders. So grab your copy today at thecaptainskeys.com, Amazon, or choose your own adventure. Print, ebook, or audio. Stop drowning alone and build your stability matrix. What has been maybe the biggest oh no moment that you've hit so far in the journey? And maybe what did it teach you about leadership or maybe resilience?
Oh no, in terms of team, in terms of product, in terms of
Any of those.
yeah,
All of those moments for me, you too.
I'd say one of the biggest oh no's, we had hired a couple of people and we had to let go of a couple of people. And I think that I particularly, again, is culture. And so I think sometimes it's really hard to fire people that fit perfectly into your culture.
Yes.
We've had people extremely hard and that had amazing culture. And again, it's a bit of what I told you about Adorno, where passion blinds you. Sometimes when someone is so culture fits so well in your culture, you are blinded by, and so we had people that
Yes.
just couldn't actually achieve what we wanted them to achieve. They were working so hard that we always thought that they could upskill and do better and whatnot. And it's not always the case. And sometimes it's a really hard moment where, okay, great culture. I thought they could do it. They can't. You have to let them go. And it sucks. Been only six right now. And we are very slowly, so that we really want to make sure that we don't let go people. We want to hire slowly and of course fire fast, but we don't want to have those oh no moments anymore.
Yeah, that's big. And that's the tough one. When you have somebody that is such a great culture fit, they've got great attitude, great work ethic, and they just can't do the job. And
Yeah,
you can't wish them to do the job. Try training. I mean, it's just not giving you what you need at the time. That is so hard. So
yeah,
I've owned that mistake a time or two.
me too.
Yeah. Well, how have you kept that pace sustainable while continuing to execute at a high level as you've added people to the team? And you said hiring slowly a couple of times. I mean, how do you continue to deliver and do that, but also hire a reasonable pace?
Our rate is unsustainable right now, and that's fine. I think that's a lot of what early stage startups have to unfortunately endure. I would rather work twice as much rather than hire someone that's gonna not be the right person because we feel we need too much help and we need to deliver. We work 6 days a week. The founders both founders work 7 days a week. And I don't want to be the I hate, like, I don't like that culture, like this thing in SF where people are always like, "Oh, I'm gonna show you how hard I can work, and I work harder than you," and like,
Right.
but it's true for a lot of startups. It's true that like you have to work really hard, and I'd rather work harder and hire someone higher, and spend more time hiring to make sure that it's the right person. So, does the entire team work a lot? Yes, they all work 6 days a week. Do the founders work their stuff? Yeah, we cannot work less than the people we hire. It would be
Right.
hypocritical. I got back from the conference. I had a 6 a.m. flight yesterday to wake up at 3:50, and then I had a meeting with someone in Singapore at 10 p.m. yesterday. It sucks. It is unsustainable, but that it has to be. Sometimes when you're early stage, if you hire too many people too quickly as well, then you might not have that pressure anymore. And I think that I'll say the very cliche stuff, but diamonds are built under pressure. And
Yeah.
I think it's fine. It's fine being at an unstable rate for not forever, but for
Yeah. How do you know when that is? That's really working hard and pouring everything in there. How do you know what is a sustainable rate and where burnout is around the corner?
I don't believe in burnout. You're building something that's actually working. I think burnout occurs from extreme amount of work and very little results. It's maybe crazy, but Elon was sleeping on his factory floor and he knew that what he was doing would work. I think that if you work a year crazy hours on something that isn't working, then that's how you burn out. But
Mm.
I don't mind working 15, 16 hours a day because I know that what we're building is actually working and that we've got a chance at becoming a multi-billion dollar company. And so I don't think you can burn out under those circumstances.
Yeah, because you're seeing the results. You're seeing
Yeah,
things
exactly.
happen and that brings that energy back. But I completely understand that where if you're just putting out energy and you're seeing nothing, no results, nothing coming back, that's a recipe for burnout for sure. Well, in the industry that you're in, I'm just thinking about regulation or regulated industries.
Yeah.
AI moves really fast. Regulated industries typically move slow. How does that mesh between the two technologies and the industry?
I think the interesting thing is that the way we've developed the product, being this reg tech and compliance agent, means that we are not regulated, which means that we can move
Ah,
faster.
nice.
And so, of course, we have discussions. We talk to regulators all the time, and we want to make them happy. This is extremely important. But we, as a company, are not regulated. Companies we work with are regulated,
Yes.
and so it does mean that they inherently move slow. But because our integration is so fast and we have so little friction to use a product, it's relatively easy for them to use us. Does it mean that certain companies can't automate fully their cases? Sure. Some companies can't, but that's okay.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I just think about that. The industry moving slow, sales cycles being really long, but you've removed all of that because the friction's not there. The
Exactly.
implementation, you don't have to do anything. You can plug it right in to what they're doing. They don't have APIs and it
Right
makes it
on.
very easy.
Right on.
Yeah. It's so smart because that's an industry just overall. I mean, just thinking that moves at a snail's pace and sales cycles are typically pretty long. Government
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that a lot of companies that are moving slow are now realizing that there's a new age for financial crime compliance and are trying to move faster. We've signed a very large bank in just a couple of weeks, which usually is unheard of. So
Yes.
I think that there's a desire to not only be more efficient, but actually adopt AI in a way that is safe and useful for the company. Something we've seen is that our customers not only reduce the amount of false positives, but they also increase the number of true positives, which means that we're finding more actual risk than
Oh,
what
wow.
human compliance teams can do. And so this is what makes regulators very happy.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, reducing the false positives is the goal, but you're finding actual positives that they were
Yeah,
missing before. I think that's
right.
why you sign deals in a couple of weeks with massive
Yeah.
financial institutions. Cool. Well, AI is definitely changing the way work gets done. I mean, even in the big financial institutions, how do you think the role of the SaaS founder and leadership is going to continue to evolve over the next few years?
How so exactly? The role of a founder in the SaaS industry evolve as there might be AI coming up?
AI enhanced? Is it going to be more having managing an AI team, employees? Is it going to stay traditional? Founders going to have to think about those kinds of things.
I think it's an interesting point, and I think that obviously the future of SaaS is going to change massively, and that's why I do believe a lot in service as a software more than software
Love that.
service. And I think that a lot of roles that are very manual today will still have, of course, people working in it, compliance. I mean, there's so many other, whether it's, I have a friend doing voice agents for receptionists in health clinics. It's very manual. It's people taking over the phone. I think we will see a period in the next few years where people will actually manage team of AI agents, and AI agents will report to other AI agents, and you're going to have actual org structures of AI agents in companies. People are scared that, oh, you're gonna have to fire everyone and this is horrendous. But I think quite the thing that this only allows to grow more. We've been able to help companies expand in multiple countries because we're region agnostic. So we work with a company, Brazil, and with us, they've been able to expand into Colombia, Mexico, and soon Argentina without having to hire a crazy compliance team elsewhere. And that could literally be the same. You could be a company that's focused for a certain market or a certain ICP or a certain type of customer, but by having those very specialized agents that will work under you, you're going to be able to grow into more verticals and more markets.
That's great. Where can people learn more about you and about online?
You can go on hq.com. A lot of information there, case studies. You can book a demo. I'd love to chat and give you more details. We're hiring for everything. If anyone watching wants to join us, GTM, engineers, engineering in general. And please follow me on LinkedIn. A lot of great stuff being published there.
Great. We'll make sure and link all of that in the show notes. And Alexander,
100%.
it's been such a pleasure having you on the show. Incredibly valuable today. Thanks for being on SaaS Fuel.
Thanks so much, Jeff. It was great being here as well.
Thanks again, Alex, for coming on the show and sharing your journey and insights. You can, of course, learn more about Alex and his company, Sphynx, at sphinxlabs.ai. As always, all links, highlights, resources, and full show notes are available at saasfuel.com. And be sure to check us out on YouTube as well. It's at Champion Leadership. We have full video episodes, training, outtakes, shorts, lots of things over there for you on YouTube. Thought leaders share, and I'll bet you're one because you're listening. Share this episode with someone who's not worried about churn, like churn isn't actively tap dancing on their revenue. Everyone who shares this week gets a customer retention Tamagotchi. Remember those from the 90s? Ignore it for one day and it dramatically fades away while whispering, I just needed onboarding. What does it take to light up a room and actually move people to action? Well, next up, one of my favorite guests of all time, and that's saying a lot, Martin Lesperance, an award-winning keynote speaker and engagement specialist. He's going to be here to explore how humor, energy, and emotion drive motivation. From TEDx to global stages, Martin shares how leaders create engagement that lasts long after the applause. Then 1 week from today, how do you build go-to-market and product strategy in the toughest corners of enterprise infrastructure? My guest will be Michael Ferranti, enterprise technologist and product strategist. He joins us to unpack what he's learned across Portworx, Teleport, and Unleash, spanning all sorts of infrastructure. So I'll see you next time, and as always, enjoy the journey.
Thanks for listening to SaaS Fuel. Full show notes for each episode, which includes a summary, key takeaways, quotes, and any resources mentioned, are available at saasfuel.com. Be sure to follow and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're enjoying the content and getting value from these episodes, please leave us a rating and review at ratethispodcast.com/SaaSFuel. We'll be sure to read these out on future episodes.